Schools do a wonderful job of preparing us to succeed in life. They prepare us for jobs. They give us a basic understanding of how to engage with the world around us. But they don't teach us how to have a happy life, a meaningful life, a fulfilled life of purpose. And this is evident in just how many people we see around the world, around in our own societies, that are just not happy. They are not fulfilled. They may be great successes, but they have immense stress. And there are really 8 things that all schools could teach that will help us live a truly great life. And that starts with number 1, teaching inner knowledge. Schools teach us how to engage with the world around us, and even in life skills classes, they help us cope and interact with that physical world we live in. They tell us to sit down and focus, but they don't tell us how to focus. They don't teach us to understand our thoughts, to understand that inner world, and to master our thoughts, emotions, our focus, concentration, and awareness. And this is the really fundamental aspect of who we are, and it lays the foundation for how we interact with the world around us. From a sense of knowing who we are, we don't go through life adrift, aimless, reacting instead of creating with conscious intention. It focuses too much in our education on the external material world, and almost all of our sciences are materialist-based sciences, focusing on physical matter. And we are never encouraged to close our eyes, to turn within, and to explore that non-physical dimension of life from which all life emerges. And this is foundational for not just being happy, but for creating a conscious world. It starts in the children, and it starts from each one of us. We each live in a society that is clear everywhere you look that it was unconscious, unintentional, and not designed for the flourishing of the human spirit. And when we teach children that within them are answers, within them is the source of their highest wisdom, their highest self lies within, beyond the impulsive mind that can't focus, that can't sit still. Then they can tap into that, and they can see beyond the impulses. They can control their focus to wherever they wish, instead of constantly reacting to a chaotic world. And this is the key to peace, and when it starts in our childhood, it builds a powerful foundation for the rest of our lives, and we don't have to unlearn it during a midlife crisis or a tragic loss. It will be the bedrock that we can remain stable through any of life's ups and downs. The second thing we need to teach children is so important because every child learns from a very early age how to read a clock, how to show up for school on time, that each class will last a certain amount of time, then the bell will ring, and they'll go on to the next one, and they live in a very scheduled and structured world. And while that is essential and necessary and helpful and useful, and we don't want to miss class or be late for class, we also need to remind them that the only truth is this present moment, that there is no past. It does not exist. It exists only as embers of this present moment, which is that fire, creating embers that will exist in the future, but there is only this moment. Nothing else exists. There is only signs of the past and our imagined plans for the future. And when we drill into children this notion of time, we miss the present moment. And when we miss the present moment, we miss our lives. Everything in our lives is either joyful with presence or is missed with anxiety, resistance, and depression. When we get really into something, like a video game or a field of study that is fascinating us, we become blissful. Time stops, and we are absorbed by what we are doing completely. And no matter what we are doing, we can get into it. We can get so into it that everything else fades away, and we are fully present and fully alive. And this is essential to developing as early as possible, because when we do it as adults, these things take decades to unlearn. It takes thousands of hours of meditation to undo these mental habits of avoidance, this mental distancing. And life just turns on when we are present. And so we can encourage children from very early ages to get outside of their head, get outside of their thinking mind, and to be fully engaged with what is happening in this one eternal moment, because it's all we have. The third essential life skill that schools can teach is emotional intelligence and compassion. Compassion really is the foundation of happiness. When we live in a world where every school teaches compassion, homelessness will disappear on its own. We will not be able to walk past a homeless person without figuring out a way to end this suffering. We have, in this wealthiest of nations, enough resources to end homelessness. We lack the universal compassion to do so. When we have compassion as the foundation, we will still make mistakes. Governments will still be imperfect, but we will always try to do better. And when compassion is our North Star, we cannot go wrong. There is truly no greater skill that we can develop than emotional intelligence. The ability to recognize emotions in others, the ability to recognize emotions within ourselves, and to have the tools and skills to transform those emotions into love and joy without the need for a product, for a distraction, for any external circumstances. This is the key to lasting peace and happiness. This is where that eternal light of consciousness within us that is always shining becomes the necessary circumstance for peace and joy. And we no longer seek relief from anything external, because everything external is changing. Outside of that light of consciousness is the roller coaster of life. And that light within us is the seatbelt. And we can just relax. No matter what that roller coaster is doing, we know that there is safety within, and the source of peace and love is us. The fourth essential life lesson is our connection with nature and the universe. It is wonderful that we learn in science and biology the names of different species of animals and plants, but it is equally essential that we learn about the oneness, the interconnectedness, the web of connection that all things exist within, that we are not separate from the universe, that everything comes from the same stuff, came from the same place, came from that first single-celled organism, that we are all brothers and sisters, that we are the plants whose air we breathe, that we are the fruits we eat. We are not separate from nature. We are not independent from it, but in fact, it is the source of life. It is within us, and we depend on the balance that is maintained through the harmony of these ecosystems. That this living earth is us. And when we understand that, we will naturally protect it. We will care for every life form. We will honor the sacred life that is within us. We will treat ourselves better. We'll treat others better. We'll treat this planet better. And this is truth. None of these are made up ideas. This is reality. Nobody exists in a vacuum. None of us can survive on an island with no other life on this planet. We are all intricately connected. Nature is not something to be feared, which so naturally arises when we live in cities. But it is the source of our life. It nourishes and sustains us. When we are blessed to understand these teachings of this connection with nature, we naturally feel the presence of oneness, that we are a vital and integral part of the whole of this universe. And like any part, it cannot be removed, it cannot be separated. And it is the whole. It is a branch on the tree. And when oneness arises from a child, there is nothing scary anymore, because there is no life to lose. There is no thing to worry about. There is no gain or acquisition. We just see this massive existence that we are a part of, larger than our separate little life, where all fear arises from. And there is great comfort to recognize this interconnected oneness, where there is no loneliness, there is no division. And anyone who tries to teach children that they are separate, that they're in a different group, that they must be in conflict with some other group, will not work, because they will understand that there is this one life, and that we are stronger together, and we are stronger and safer when we live in compassion, in love, and support of one another. And if we teach this to a child, and if we teach this to every child, the entire world will look completely different in 20 years. The fifth important life lesson that we can teach children is gratitude and acceptance. Schools generally are about acquiring knowledge so we can acquire a job, so we can acquire money. And while, of course, this is how we need to survive, it is equally important that we teach children how to find the acceptance and gratitude within this moment, to appreciate the journey, or else there will just be this constant fear of lack, of needing something external to bring about our inner fulfillment, which will never fill the void within us. Only by recognizing that we are already complete, perfect human beings can we not only fill that void, but we can have the confidence to achieve great things. I think we think that if we teach gratitude and acceptance, children might be lazy, unambitious, but we are raising insecure, unconfident stress machines. And that drains us of our energy, of our power. And when we have gratitude and acceptance for who we are and where we are on our journey, we can soberly take the steps necessary to reach the place we need to go. If we're on a journey and we're on day one and we get upset that we're not on that final day, reaching the mountaintop, we will quit, and we will not have the courage, the energy to face those ups and downs along the way. Only by accepting where we are can we get where we want to go. The sixth valuable lesson we can teach children is non-attachment and letting go. Most of us try to create the perfect circumstances in our life, the perfect situation, and hope that it never changes. And the reality is that everything is changing all the time. And it is the resistance to change that creates the stress and the suffering. When we can teach children to let go and to not be attached, we don't live in regret, we don't live in unnecessary worry, and we can find peace and freedom no matter what situation we find ourselves in, because we know that if it's good, we don't hold on because it will change, and when it's bad, we don't succumb to depression because we know that too will change. Often in life, we have a plan for the way things are going to go, and usually the universe has its own plan. And if we can be unattached and let go of our small plan, we can see and embrace the bigger, more exciting reality that the universe has in store for all of us. When we cling and hold onto a certain dream, a certain plan, or even a person or an object, we will set ourselves up to be disappointed because everything changes. Every relationship ends, every object breaks, and when we can accept that, we can flow with the ever-changing currents of reality. And to flow is to ride the waves of time and not try to stand in the ocean hoping we don't get knocked down. And instead we can go surfing. The ocean never stays still. And that is why we love it. This constant change, which we will fear if we are not taught from an early age that it is reality, makes all things possible. And that is something we can embrace. The seventh important life lesson is finding happiness in the small things. We are taught that happiness lies in circumstances: a house, a job, a salary, a family, a certain amount of friends and vacations and luxuries and comforts. And while those things can be nice and we don't have to avoid them, if we forget that to be alive is a miracle, to breathe is a blessing, that a sunset, a flower, a forest, a waterfall, a stream, that these free things are beyond anything money can buy, and they are freely available in this world, then we will actually enjoy our lives. When we want what we have, and what we don't have doesn't even cross our mind, that is happiness. The more we can forget about what other people have and appreciate the blessings that life has all around us, the happier we'll be. When we have simplicity and contentment, a moment of peace that we can find joy in, when we have simplicity and contentment, and we can find joy in a moment of peace, we no longer need a new car to bring us happiness, a fancy dinner, an exotic vacation. We can find it in everything we do and everything we see. It does not exist in what we can acquire or possess. It doesn't exist in anything external. Nothing external can make us stressed. Nothing external can make us happy. This is our choice and our responsibility. It lies within us. We have the power to let go of stress and to let that light of joy and love shine from within us. What we focus on determines our reality. There is so much to focus on. When we are stuck in misery and darkness, it is because that is what we are focusing on, and we cannot even see the blessings in our life. But we can turn our focus to what makes us happy, and that is the key to a happy life. Number 8 is finding purpose and meaning in life. Schools teach us how to have a successful life, how to journey through this world. But we need to learn to journey within, to find the meaning and purpose within ourselves. Personal growth and evolution will bring more fulfilling and lasting joy into our lives than any job title, than any salary, than any possession, even jet skis. If we can teach children to not just so much focus on traveling the world, but traveling to the deepest parts of who we are, to know ourselves deeply and intimately, this is the key to living a good life, because everything out there is a reflection of what's in here. And when we have a deep familiarity with who we truly are, with that love inside us, we understand the world, and it shines more brightly because we are projecting our love onto everything we see. The world is either dark and scary and gray, or it is bright and beautiful and vibrant. The difference is not our circumstances. It is what we are shining forth from us. The meaning of life is to awaken, and our purpose is to help awaken others. And that can be done through our jobs. It can be done through our families. It can be done through our art. Whatever our gift to the world, however we can provide that presence for others, that is our gift. And everyone has that gift in different forms, in some unique way. A monk once told me that if the key to happiness, if the source of true happiness was on top of a mountain somewhere, everyone would be lining up to get there. There'd be cable cars taking people up to the top of that mountain. But the source was put inside each of us. And it took a long time for us to realize that we just had to close our eyes and turn inward, and we could find it. But that is where it lies. And that is the key to a truly meaningful life. That is how the illusion of forms disappears, how that sense of oneness emerges, and a deep peace beyond the changing forms around us can be felt. If we can teach children these skills of patience and kindness, of introspection and reflection, of meditation and presence, we won't even have to protest or organize to fight for a better world. It will arise from the consciousness and the evolutionary growth of our species.